in a prison in Thailand. This man was using lime to paint the wall as ink, and fish bones as a pen. He drew the exquisite lines on the paper. It cost $10 to send a letter from prison. Even though he didn't have any money, he could design a phony bill that looked just like the genuine one. This letter was the hope that he would be able to get out of prison. This man was Lee Bin. He played an important role in the manufacturing of counterfeit money. The bill he drew, that even international money machines couldn't identify if it was genuine or phony. A few years ago, Lee Bin was merely a poor painter. Despite working hard for 10 years to learn painting, not a single artwork of his was sold. To earn a livelihood, he could only rely on painting forgeries every day. However, his girlfriend, Ruan Won, rose to prominence in the arts. She also had a successful solo exhibition. In the art exhibition, she placed her boyfriend's painting in the most prominent place since she wanted to help him. However, one man ridiculed Lee Bin's painting. When Ruan Won witnessed this, she became enraged and splashed water on his face. That man did not appear to be angry, but instead smirked and left there. Lee Bin pursued him out and apologized to him. After that, he pulled out the original artwork that Lee Bin had replicated, and said that he had specially come to find Lee Bin. He also said that Lee Bin was a true artist, since he could paint forgeries to such a high level of sophistication. His words made Lee Bin smile a little. The man handed him a business card named Painter. He wanted to cooperate with Lee Bin for a long period. When Lee Bin returned to the exhibition, he found that all of Ruan Wen's paintings had been sold, leaving just his painting inside. Lee Bin smiled and burned it with a lighter. Painting was clearly not his forte, but plagiarism was most likely Lee Bin's good strength. Lee Bin went to Painter. That man handed him a dollar bill and asked him to replicate it. The US government issued a new dollar bill in March of that year. If they enlarged the picture on it by 50%, the lines and features would be proportionally increased. There was a material used to detect counterfeit money, particularly on the collar of the image on the bill. They were looking for someone who could draw exactly like the original. Lee Bin simply needed to work. He didn't need to be concerned with anything else. When Lee Bin arrived home, he saw Ruan Wen packing her belongings. She had become famous. Therefore, she could naturally not go through difficult times with him. After that, Lee Bin was determined to become a wealthy person worthy of Ruan Wen. As a result, he followed Painter's lead and began producing counterfeit money. First, he created a template. Interference ridges were quite likely to appear in electrical sensor testing. However, Lee Bin was an expert at creating forgeries. He only drew a counterfeit bill by hand with excellent precision. Even a scanner could not match that level. The template was done really rapidly. However, two types of materials were still lacking to create a high-quality counterfeit money. There were 5 stages: creating a template, enlarging of scale, acid-free paper, color-changing ink. They had finished the first 3 stages, and then came to the acid-free paper stage. The black pen used to write on the paper will be turned into yellow. Furthermore, acid-free paper was controlled in the US. Somehow, Painter obtained the information, which was that the acid-free paper was in a US information agency. So Painter disguised himself as a handicapped person to easily get the acid-free paper. They only needed a color-changing ink at the time to create counterfeit money. However, since this kind of ink was extremely difficult to produce, Painter had to go to Canada. He robbed 2 ink tanks in the police vehicle. He also burnt the policeman in charge of delivering these ink tanks to death. Lee Bin was terrified as a result of this. As Lee Bin did not agree to kill people to make counterfeit money, he wanted to withdraw from this plan. However, it was definitely not simple. The counterfeit money had finally been released, which had made the members of this gang extremely delighted. These bills looked so genuine that if no one told, no one would think they were phony. This large quantity of counterfeit money was rapidly sold, giving them a significant sum of genuine money. However, the color-changing ink only had 2 tanks, so it won't be long until it ran out. One day, Lee Bin noticed a car downstairs. He quickly popped up away. The paint on this car was remarkably similar to the money printing ink. Following that, he experimented many times and developed an ink that printed money from car paint. There would be no need to rob or kill anyone after this. One day, the boss of the Triangle Kim invited them to be visitors. He wanted to purchase their counterfeiting money manufacturing technologies. However, Painter would rather die than sell. But a loud explosion erupted outside as the boss's juniors threatened him with a gun. It turned out that Painter quickly set up an ambush. They had armed with deadly weapons that could level this place in the blink of an eye. During the chaos, Lee Bin rescued Su Qing, a woman with a facial injury. The counterfeit money trade increasingly prospered. Not long later, Painter soon had a notable visitor. However, he had the impression that this person was somewhat familiar to him. As soon as I see you, I know who you are. In the past, an underling of Painter used counterfeit money to purchase antiquities. However, when it came to creating counterfeit money, they had a regulation that stated that they had not to use their own counterfeit money. This underling who disobeyed the regulations drew the notice of the police. This man in front of him was a policeman. The painter then murdered the underling and set fire to the warehouse. Painter pretended to be unaware of this and intended to murder this policeman. So many of these killings happened, causing Li Bin to panic. A person with a wicked heart like Painter understood that Li Bin was easily swayed. He even arrested Ruan Wen and her fiancé. In a panic, Li Bin aimed his gun at Painter, infuriating him. When he was ready to murder Li Bin, the woman who had previously been saved by Li Bin rushed to save him. Painter and the members of the gang were both annihilated. Li Bin decided to leave the gang and go into hiding in the deep mountain with Xu Qing. However, their tranquility of life was suddenly shattered. Li Bin chanced to read some news. The whole family of the underling who previously broke the regulations was killed. It turned out that Painter was still alive. Li Bin was concerned that Painter would revenge on Huan Wen. He left Xu Qing and returned to his homeland. As a result, he was arrested by the police as soon as he stepped outside. Based on his description, the police sketched the figure of Painter. Then he was bailed out by his ex-girlfriend Ruan Wen. Li Bin looked to transform into a different person after leaving the police station. The police sketched a portrait of the criminal and planned to use all of their resources to apprehend Painter. A female police officer spotted a person who looked just like the person in the picture. Painter was so daring that he pretended to be a policeman. The police then immediately deployed their forces to arrest the suspect. However, after further investigation, everyone gasped since this person was in fact a police officer. He drove to escort Li Bin 3 days ago. The police were tricked. In the film, Li Bin was actually Painter. He was the one who controlled the entire counterfeiting money operation. He assassinated the officers in the police car. He destroyed a whole barracks and killed the boss. He did murder that police officer. Li Bin did everything. He had been fabricating falsehoods since he was escorted. He purposefully pretended to be tense. But he was actually memorizing the face of the police officer driving the car. Then he shifted the blame onto him. When the police arrived at the hotel, Li Bin left here. And this policeman was soon murdered. At the same moment, the police received shocking news. Not only was Painter a fictitious character, but so was yesterday's Ruan Wen. After Xu Qing was injured, Li Bin quickly operated on her to transform her into Ruan Wen. At that time, they were currently on a yacht attempting to flee. As long as they crossed the border, the police would be unable to apprehend them. But Xu Qing abruptly stopped the boat. Before that, she had questioned Li Bin. "With you, am I merely a substitute?" Li Bin was unconcerned and said, "Being a substitute has been a blessing to you." This statement was like a knife piercing Xu Qing's heart, making her terribly sorrowful. As a result, before she departed, she left a signal, making it easy for the police to track them down. And the bomb had already been put on the yacht. Xu Qing pressed the button in her palm. She eventually died with Li Bin. Everyone who has been watching up to this point may be excited. Everything appears to be a hoax, but think again. Everything Li Bin said was a lie, but Ruan Wen's identity as a painter was real. If Li Bin did not lie, there was actual Painter in the story. This Painter actually was Ruan Wen, and Li Bin was always willing to assist her with work. Since her fiancé was aware of her actual identity, he was murdered. Ruan Wen purposefully caused Xu Qing's love to turn to hatred, so she would die with Li Bin. Xu Qing and Li Bin were both currently dead. When the police arrived to interrogate her, she merely said that Li Bin used to be her neighbor, and then she severed all connections with him. Nobody was aware of her actual identity. This was also an explanation. Who do you believe is the true Painter?